My name is Kris Wilson. I am an 8th grade science teacher at Conway Middle School. Have been teaching in Kentucky for 1 year now, and I'm in my 2nd year as a full-time teacher and full-time grad student. So one thing that I've realized in the classroom environment is that students like to avoid work. It's very easy to avoid work. They can tap their pencil, they can say, I need to go to the bathroom, they can say, I need to sharpen my pencil, can I have a piece of paper? These are all mechanisms that students use and children use to avoid what they can't do. If they say I don't have paper, the beginning of the year, I spent $10 on paper. I got a stack about this, and I give paper out to any student who needs it because it's $10 and it'll save hours of work later when students use that as an excuse. Pencils, I do collateral. Give me a pencil, or I'll give you a pencil and you give me that notebook that you really like, or your bracelet. See, I have a Girl Scout bracelet. I don't really want a Girl Scout bracelet, but I didn't get my pencil back. There's all these things that you can do to play with students and take away their excuses. When my students start getting disruptive or distracted, it's often a symptom or a sign that the work is too difficult for them or that they're having difficulty with the work. Students are not inherently lazy. They're not inherently disruptive. If you find something difficult, you often try to think of something else. It's human nature, and your students do it as well. So you need to address that and try to figure out a way to work with it. Going to the bathroom, I have my students do the pee-pee dance, what I call the pee-pee dance. And it's the 3rd grade, I gotta go to the bathroom, I gotta go. If they don't do that, they obviously don't need to go bad enough. And that's what I tell them, because otherwise you have 10 students a class saying, I need to go to the bathroom because I don't want to think. I want to take a break and hang out and do that. So that's very important for me. Managing your classroom when you have to deal with a discipline issue is a very important thing. Usually, if you have good classroom management in the first place, then it shouldn't be a problem if you need to step out with a student. However, that's not always the case. So you need to say, step outside, step into the corner, I will talk to you in a second. You can get the class working on something, and then you can address the student individually. When I'm dealing with the student that I have a discipline problem with, I will face them away from the class so that I can watch the class and talk to them at the same time, so that I can see if we have any other discipline problems that are going to spring up because they think I'm not paying attention to them. I had the opportunity to observe a master teacher in my 1st year, and it was one of the best experiences of my 1st year. First of all, it showed me what I could become, and it also helped me to get closer to that. I was able to steal ideas that she was giving me, and it was wonderful because many of them were very simple to implement. Some of the procedures and ideas that I stole from this other teacher were to praise students. Praise them, praise them, praise them. Because students know when they do something incorrect, and they know when a teacher singles them out and says, hey, stop doing that. Say, okay. And then they start doing it 5 seconds later when you're not paying attention. However, if you catch a student doing something well, you say, excellent job, thank you for pushing in your chair, thank you for lining up quietly, well done. That can turn a student's behavior around in your class. If you praise them, thank you for stacking the books well. Thank you for putting your name on it so that I could read it. That was very well done. Thank you. That helps me out. You can have a student who knows that you don't like them because you don't like all of your students. There's 120 personalities or 150. You're not going to like all of them. That's how it is. But if you value them enough to praise them, it can be nice shoes. I really like how you did your hair today. That's very cool. Nice earrings. Very simple things that show that you value a student. Some students don't get that, ever. And if a teacher gives that to them, they will work for that teacher. So in middle school, we have usually 4 teachers, a language arts, social studies, math, and science teacher who rotate the same group of students. And that's really great because the same students see each other and they get to know each other, and they also have the same teachers. Now, how you can contribute to that team as a teacher is very important. It's called a team because you have team members. You usually have a team leader who is the point person, but they also need your help. And how I contribute is, if they ask me for something, just what are your ideas, what are your thoughts, get back to them as soon as possible, because sometimes they need to contact a parent, or they are seeing a bigger picture, something that's happening team-wide, a pattern that's happening team-wide, and they need to address it. Get back to them. Give them ideas. Give them concerns. Keep those avenues of communication open. If you're over-communicating, they'll let you know. If you're under-communicating, it's a big problem because it's under-communication. They can't get information from you and they can't give you information. So make sure you're communicating and not going against what everybody else is doing. All teachers are individuals, just how all students are individuals, but we need to come together and do the same procedures that just how we ask our students to all raise their hands. We need to do the same with how your team works. When I call parents, I have a technique that I use called a compliment sandwich. It starts off with, "Hello, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so, how are you doing today? This is Mr. Wilson from Conway Middle School. Great, I'm glad that you're having a good day. I'm having a good day too." You know, try to open up a rapport with them and be positive. And then I hit them with a compliment about their student. "I really like how your student has a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm in the classroom. That's great." Then you can get to maybe the reason you really called, which is the discipline or the problem that you're having with the student. But don't forget at the very end of that to say, again, "I really like your student. They show a lot of promise. They have a lot of potential." Make a compliment sandwich, because if that parent comes out of there with hope, that's the point, because they can act on hope. If you just say, "This is the problems, this is the problem," they usually know that. You're usually not going to surprise them that their kid is talkative. But if you give them hope and you say, "We acknowledge this, let's work on it, and again, I really look forward to working with your student," then you give them hope and they can move forward instead of get defensive. One thing that I did as a first-year teacher was I tried to cram too much into a class. Now, if you constantly cram and cram and cram, your students fill up and you get exhausted. It's very important to spread out your class. Break it up into a couple pieces, and at the very end, leave some time. Leave about 5 minutes, I would say, to 1, review, 2, to address any issues that came up in class, any questions. Think about what we did today. Does anybody have any questions? Okay? Or, this is what we did. Now, can you think about how to take this further? Where have you seen this in your life? It's very important for kids to make connections, and that last bit of time is a good way to solidify that. Leaving 5 minutes also allows you to, "Could you come over here? I need to talk to you." Have that one-on-one time with the student that you might not have during the middle of a lab or teaching. And that allows your students to kind of decompress and get ready for the next class, and you to mop up anything that happened during the class.